Super Mario Brothers making $1 billion is proof that even if the critics deride a movie, you should probably look at what the audience thinks about it first. Hey, what's up, Nerd fam? This is your boy Gashawn. I want to welcome you to Enter the Nerd. Today, we're talking about the Super Mario Brothers movie. I waited a while because I just wanted to see if this movie was going to make $1 billion, especially with all the weird criticism it got from people who are supposed to be experts in film or even the type of genre that this is. We'll get more into that later. But funny enough, this movie made $1 billion in spite of the weird critical reception. However, when you look at things like Rotten Tomatoes, you'll notice that the audience score was always extremely high. So the people who are going in mass, the general public, or people who actually played the games, who are watching this movie, loved it. And that's good to pay attention to, especially because a lot of people in the film industry make it seem like the $1 billion movie is so hard to get to, even listening to audiences. And it really isn't, to be honest. The audiences came to look for a certain thing. They got it in this movie. They told their friends who also were looking for the same thing. Those friends go to see it, sometimes more than once, and you get a high grossing movie, especially if the movie has the core fan base in mind, which this movie absolutely does. Now, am I going to tell you that I am the #1 Mario fan? No, but I have played a hell of a lot of the games, and I have a lot of friends who know everything in and out about Mario, especially because they played a lot more Nintendo than I did. I was more of a Sony guy, but a lot of my cousins who I went to go over their houses, they all had Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, GameCube, all of that, and they played everything, just about anything Nintendo. So I was really, really impressed by how much detail they put into just, let's just say, Easter eggs, right? Just to let you know, light spoilers, not like super plot spoilers, even though if you played a lot of the games, you kind of know what the plot is, but either way, light spoilers here. And this is just to talk about some of the Easter eggs. In particular, in the very first scene, Mario's working at a pizza shop with his brother. It's called Punch-Out Pizzeria. We get it, Punch-Out, Nintendo. He's even playing a game called Jumpman, which I believe that was the name. Before they had Donkey Kong, they named it that, I believe. And the person who's actually playing in the arcade is actually the voice of Mario and Luigi in the games, which is pretty dope as well. The dude that Mario gets into a fight with, or like a little scuffle in there, he's part of the Wrecking Crew, which Mario was also a player in that game. So many things. There was even like a reference to Duck Hunt outside when you see like the duck coming out of the grass. So many really cool things in just the first scene. Oh, they actually addressed something. I won't say too much about like the whole accent thing, but they do like a commercial. And in the commercial, Mario and Luigi have capes on, and that's actually from Super Mario World, like a long time ago. That's awesome. It was when they had like a little power up, they would get the capes and stuff like that. I remember that. But the whole point is, in that one scene, which takes place in pretty much the first 5 minutes of the movie, they shove in all of that stuff. Even, I believe, in like Mario's room, he has like a F-Zero poster and like a Star Fox battleship. This is like not just marketing for Mario, but just a whole bunch of other Nintendo works, which is awesome. That's what you should be doing when you have a movie like this, because my boy Taylor, he put it really, really good. He said, Mario, in terms of recognizability, is like the Superman of video games. And judging by how well this is going, it's impossible to really deny that, because Mario, everybody knows that character. They might see it. They might have played 1 game, 2 games, 10 games. They know how recognizable it is. It's a platformer. He's jumping around. He's going to go save a princess in the castle. And yeah, he has some brothers or people who people think are relatives with big mustaches and stuff like that as well too. Some people just know what he looks like. But look at this. It crosses across cultures, race, countries, and everyone loves it. It actually made more internationally than it did domestically. I think domestically we're at like the 490 million, and then internationally it's like 550, something like that. So like, it's famous everywhere, and people want to spend their money on it. And it's because in this film, they spoke directly to the people who spent all that time playing and buying these games. And the general audience who might not have played that game still had really cool things to get from it. They inserted like the real life lessons, like when it comes to how Mario and Luigi treat each other as brothers, and even the whole family aspect. You know, they have to insert like a real world lesson, obviously for kids and stuff like that, for people to watch it. And it was good. They didn't beat you over the head with anything. And I think that was one of the biggest problems that critics had with it, was the fact that there was no like overarching social issue, and it just stuck to what the game brought to the people who love it. Now, speaking of those critics that we were going to get to earlier on, one of them was someone who I've mentioned in this channel before, who has a large following, way larger than the subscriber count that I have, but has made flubs like this before, which is, the first thing she said was subjective. She says, Super Mario Brothers is the worst movie she's ever seen. Okay, if that was really her opinion, got it, right? You know, some people might hate the movie when they go see it. It is what it is. I'm not going on that opinion. But then when she goes to elaborate certain things, there's actually a part in her video, her review of it, where she goes, when did Super Mario ever turn into a cat? And it's funny because when she put that, I believe, on Twitter, a whole bunch of people just responded with like all the games where he ever had that cat suit on. So it was clear she didn't even do any research on this, and she doesn't really know. And it's kind of embarrassing that you're going to, you know, do like some heavy criticism. And she said something about, you know, it takes away from his humanity, and maybe it'll be good for furries. And it's like, you're not knowledgeable in what you're critiquing. You're not knowledgeable even in the material that it's on. And funny enough, this makes up a majority of critics when it comes to things that go within the nerd space, like video game movies, like comic book movies. If you notice, even in the early MCU days, a lot of the movies that a lot of like the core fan base liked, that I think were really acceptable, like Winter Soldier and stuff like that, they got like terrible reviews because they're like, it's so unrealistic, it's so thin. And it's like, okay, we know to suspend reality because it's a comic book movie, but did it give us, the fans of what this is, what we wanted? And it did. But critics can't look beyond that. Who is this made for? Is it appeasing them? And then we go from there. That's the perfect way to really go about anything that's based on something. And I believe Super Mario Brothers knocked it out the park. Now, I know there's some people who probably don't like it a little bit, like it a lot, and that's cool. Believe me, I'm not trying to change your subjective opinion on that. I'm not. I enjoyed it. Tons of other people that I know enjoyed it. You know what I mean? That have never seen it. So I'm just going by that. But besides that, I think that this is going to start a gigantic trend like the superhero movies did, because it wasn't until the first $1 billion Marvel movie where there was this like superhero frenzy. I'm not saying there weren't superhero movies before that, because clearly Fox was doing their thing. There were superhero movies before that. But once $1 billion was made in a particular franchise, specifically the MCU, everyone was like, holy crap, like we gotta get on this. And even DC, they saw that and was like, we gotta get to that quickly, which is why we have what we have there in the DCEU, or what we had. You know, now James Gunn is taking over. We'll see what happens there. But the rush to get to that $1 billion, how do we reproduce that, but in half the time? It created that. It's the reason why we have The Boys. It's the reason why we have Invincible and all these things. Now, mind you, those are all already like, you know, graphic novels. I'm not saying that the graphic novels didn't precede that. I'm talking about just wanting to adapt anything superhero related, because they're like, anything could be the next $1 billion franchise. They all wanted that. And I think this is going to start that catapult, because there's been video game movies before, but this is the highest earning video game adaptation at $1 billion. So don't be surprised if you see a whole bunch of people in studios just looking for that movie. Like, oh, maybe we can make God of War now. Maybe we could do Splinter Cell. Maybe we could do Metal Gear Solid. I think that's actually going to be a really good idea for a video, like which video games would make very good movies. And that's a really good topic in itself. So yeah, I'll do that later. But yes, this is an amazing victory for fans, for people who went out and enjoyed a movie, and the studios went and did what they did. And even the end of this movie, which I'm not gonna say, ends in a way where you know, oh shoot, I know exactly where they're gonna go after this. Similar to what Sonic has been doing, but Sonic isn't nearly as recognizable, and it isn't all in animation. It's actually cool that Illumination, who made Despicable Me and Minions, also this is like their third billion-dollar movie. So this studios is doing a lot of things right. But what else can Nintendo do? They can also do a Zelda movie. They can do a Donkey Kong movie in itself. Even like a Metroid movie, even though I think people are going to complain about how Samus looks in and out the suit, but whatever. It's par for the course. I think there's so many different possibilities. There always has been, but I think now this is going to burst open the floodgates, as we would say. But let me know, did you like the Mario movie? Do you think this is going to affect superhero movies going forward? Let me know. Let's talk about it in the comments. Until then, keep playing those games and Enter the Nerd.